Hello, everybody. This is your girl, Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am here with another podcast. Today, the topic is age ain't nothing but a number. Now, I know I stole that from a popular singer, rest in peace, Aaliyah. But we're talking about a young person, a teenager, who is doing incredibly wonderful things. And his name is Asher Warren. Asher, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, hello. My name is Asher Warren. I am a 16-year-old published author, and I have been writing for like as long as I can remember, but I have been publishing for 9 years, I think. So yeah, that's me.
Wow. So you self publish?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So 9 years. That's before Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's weird. When I was like 7 years old, my parents knew I loved writing. So they were like, okay, we're gonna put you in the summer program. Like you gotta publish a story. And I was 7 years old. I thought that was really cool. So, and then I started doing it again, either very beginning of middle school or end of elementary school, like short stories, which I'm very embarrassed of to this day. But I mean, hey, it helped. It started my career. And then freshman year, I actually wrote my first book and published it. So it was either freshman or sophomore year. So yeah, I've been doing this for like 9 years, just a long time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so since you're so young, your interview is going to be a little different. So,
Okay.
because usually I ask people to go back, but so since you're so young, we have to
Yeah.
ask you to go forward. So,
Okay.
when you were a little bit younger, what did
Yeah.
you want to be when you grew up?
So when I was a little younger, I never kind of knew what I wanted to be. I always knew that I liked writing, but I never thought it could be a career. I always thought of it more of a hobby. So whenever someone like asked me like, "What do you want to do?" I always just respond with, "I don't know." But I always secretly hoped that I could be an author when I grew up because like I thought that would just be super cool. Like coming up with stories and sharing them with people and making money off that. That was just such a cool idea to me.
Were you very creative when you were younger?
Uh, I was creative, but not in the way most people would think. It was a little disturbing, but I'll get into why. When I was 3, my dad sat me down on the couch, I was 3 years old, and put on Nightmare on Elm Street and Resident Evil and forced me to watch them. And that scarred little me, and I started, like, drawing, like, comic books and, like, stuff like that based off what I saw, and that's how I got into the horror, like, genre. So that's I was creative because I would stuff that would worry my teachers, but, my parents are always like, "Oh, he just likes scary things." But,
Right, you like scary stuff. Who's your favorite scary person in movies?
like, serial killer?
Yeah.
Uh, Serial killer-wise, either Hannibal, because I think he's a very interesting character, or probably just the classic Ghostface, because I think it's pretty great. It's cool.
Okay.
Scream is probably
So,
one of my favorite movies, so
what's your scariest movie?
that I've ever seen.
Yes.
It's a movie called Terrified. It's a Spanish movie.
Mhm.
And I don't exactly know when it came out, but I remember I was 14 years old at my friend's house for my birthday, and he was like, "Hey, you want to see a scary movie?" He put it on, and I would not leave the group. I don't
Really?
get scared at movies. I don't know what this movie was. It was terrifying.
Really?
It really scared. I saw it again recently, and it didn't necessarily scare me, but it definitely made me really uncomfortable. So if anyone likes scary
Really?
things, check that out. It's on Shutter. It's interesting.
On Shutter, I am definitely gonna watch. I love scary movies. My favorite is the Insidious series.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
love Insidious.
I like The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Uh huh.
Uh, yeah, Insidious is good.
So, are all of your books horror?
Uh, Horror, I would say yes, but that's also kind of a loose term because books, kind of like my second one, aren't necessarily flat out horror. Or like the not the one I'm writing right now, which is my fourth, but the fifth one I'm planning. That's also not necessarily horror, but it kind of falls into like the subgenres of thriller. But that kind of stuff where it will make you uncomfortable. Yeah,
Okay. And in fact, I'm glad you said that because I have a question.
yeah,
I guess I'm the adult asking you, but
yeah.
what is the difference between horror and thriller? Do you know?
I didn't know that I was writing a different genre. I had no clue, but then a lot of people came up to me and were like that didn't like horror, and they're like, "Hey, I love this. It's a thriller novel." Like, it is? So, to be totally honest, I don't know. I kinda just do it without knowing, so I could not tell you the difference if I tried. I
Gotcha.
think
And
it's the same thing.
And
This-
I think so. And the reason why I'm asking because I love horror movies, or what I thought was horror movies. But when I
Yeah,
look at like my suggested movies, it's always it'll say thriller, and then so I'm
yeah.
like, wait, so am I watching a thriller? I guess thriller is the one that maybe you scream more. I don't know.
I think it's the more suspenseful ones, where it's not
Yeah.
necessarily like flat out like a creature or something terrifying, but
Yes.
it makes you more uncomfortable and like what's gonna happen next. I think that
Yeah.
might be the difference.
Possibly. In fact, that'll be my homework to figure out what's the difference because
I
I'm
gotta
really
Google.
curious.
Yeah, I gotta Google that too.
Yeah, we got to figure that out because I love watching it. So,
Yeah.
how is it being a teenager, so young? You're 16 and you already have two books, one on the way, and then you have other ones that you are working on. So,
Yes.
for one, how is that to be a teen author? And two, where do you find the time?
So how is it? I think it has some very good upsides and also some very not anymore. It used to have very big downsides. I'll start with the downsides. Bullying. A lot of it. It's mainly a thing. It's like a lot of kids, like they're kind of just like, why do you do what you do? Or they're like make fun of plots or something. But I enjoyed it because kids would buy my books and then make fun of me. But like they're buying my books, so they're making me money. So like I didn't mind that. Then upsides, you make a lot of connections with people, like other authors. Like I've made connections with a bunch of other authors, and I think it's great. So being an author so young, it's really difficult too, like you said, finding time because I'm in school full time, so I have to focus on work, studying. I'm a junior. I got to focus on college soon, like what college I want to go to. So what I do is I have a free fourth period, so I go home an hour and a half early, and that is when I'll typically write, or I'll write on weekends, or just whenever I'm done with my homework during homeroom times like that.
So, you get to go home during the day at school?
An hour and a
And
half early every day. Yeah,
you're in California, right?
yeah.
Y'all get to leave school and come back?
No, we don't come back. No, so what I did was I haven't so my at least with my high school, we have 4 periods, 1 semester, and then the next semester we have a different 4 periods, so it's a year's worth of stuff in 1 semester.
Hmm.
So what we're allowed to do is we can take an unscheduled fourth, which means that we don't have a fourth period, uh, that semester. So I did that both semesters, so all year I get out an hour and a half early every day.
Wow, that is awesome. Do you have to have like certain grades to do that? Is everyone
No.
eligible?
Everyone's eligible. You just got to be careful because you don't want to mess up like your credits. So I had to make sure that the class that I dropped out of was an elective, so I didn't need it. So, but if it was something like academic, you want to have a fourth period. But I made sure that I would have been good to go if I didn't have one. But anyone can
That's
do it.
nice. We
Yeah.
have something similar in, I live in New Orleans, so we have something
Yeah.
similar. It's called early release, but it's only for seniors. And then I
Okay.
think you have to have a job. So you guys have a lot of freedom, and that's cool.
We have early release also, so I got out on every Wednesday, so I got out extra early today, which is really nice.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
Huh.
All right. All right, California. Okay, so how long does it take you to write a book
That
typically?
question has very there is no typically for that. There is no typically. For me, it depends on the plot. Like there's some plots that I'm way more interested in than others. Like I'm not saying there's any I'm not interested in, but there's some that I'm just like I have to get this done. So my first book, Maniacal, I was so slow. That took me like 6 months to a year. My second book, 3 months, and it was twice as long, and it got way better reviews. It took 3 months, and then my third took about four, I think, 3 or 4 also, and then the one I'm writing now, so far it's been a couple weeks, and I'm like a fourth of the way done. So this one I would assume another couple months. So it just depends.
Okay, so are these books all a series or are they standalone?
Both. I do what Stephen King does, where he has characters that come back.
Come back. Hmm.
So in my first book, like there's a couple characters I can they're mentioned in whatever, so I can actually talk about this.
Okay.
I'm not spoiling anything, so no one like they're the main character and one of the other main characters. The main guy is a teenager, and there's another main guy is a police officer. They're the main guys in that, but then they come back in other stories as like little cameos or like as other main characters. Or like there's a character in my second book. The main guy's name is Adam. In my third book, one of the main guys is his dad. but like you don't have to read them for them to make sense. But if you do read them in order, not in order of release, but in order of the years they take place, there's not I wouldn't say there's like an overarching story, but there
Hmm.
is an overarching storyline for certain characters, like certain character arcs.
Okay.
You don't
So,
have to read them in order, but like I would suggest it.
okay. So, out of all of your books that you've
Yeah.
published so far, including the one in October, who is
Yes.
your favorite character altogether?
I cannot give a number 1. I can give it top 3. I can give it
All
top
right,
3.
let's do top three. Doesn't the order doesn't matter, but let's go
Yeah.
top three.
So, first off, I'm gonna go with a character named Richard, or, he's called Dick in the book. I'll call him Dick. His name is Dick Collins. He's the secondary main character in my second book, The Trees Are Breathing. He's one of the main adventurers. I just love everything about him. I think he's hilarious. He's smart. He's like I said, he's funny. He knows what to do in situations, and he if I had to pick a one, which I really don't, I think it might be him. He's just like I love his character so much, and a bunch of people that like read it agreed. Second, I got to give it to the main character of my third book. Her name is Rachel Webb. It's not the fact that she's like a super like I don't know like a funny person. She's just the most interesting character I've ever written and the most advanced character I've ever written because there are so many things. Like I said, I can't really get into detail with this one because it's not out yet. There's so many things about her. You're like, oh, ah, oh, like there's so many layers to her. And then finally is one of the main people from Maniacal. His name is Officer Wyatt Jenkins. He's just unstoppable. There people thought that the book was supernatural because of how much he went through and survived. And I just think he's a really cool guy. He's come back in almost every single one of my books, and I'm probably gonna do that again because he's just that's the whole thing. He just comes back, and I love him. I think he's really
Okay.
great.
All right. So, what about your least favorite character?
I know exactly who it is the second you said that, and I don't even remember her name. Hold on. What? What's? I have the book right here. I can find her name. She sucks. She's just. She contributes nothing. Let me find it. Where is it? Uh,
And
I think her name is Ivy, right, or something like that. I don't even remember. That's how bad she is. I don't remember.
she's in Maniacal.
Yeah, she
Okay.
just doesn't do anything. That's it. I don't like her. Uh,
Yeah,
I got.
a lot of people don't understand, but sometimes I don't know if you're the same way. I have a books as well. So sometimes when we write characters, we don't always know. We may know what someone is going to do, but sometimes our brain just takes over and the
Yeah,
character, like sometimes people will say, "Can you put me in your book?" I'm like, "Look, I can put you in my book, but I can't promise things are going to go right, because
yeah,
I don't know. I can put you in here, I'll give you a character, and then next thing
yeah,
you know, something happens to you. But I mean, sometimes we can't do it. So that's why we
yeah,
can have a favorite character, even though they're all our characters.
yeah.
Sometimes it's something about that person because they are actually a real person in our head.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't like was that when I wrote her character, I was like, okay, she's going to be crucial to the plot, and then she does nothing. There's nothing like there's characters I write that are purely evil, like horrible people. There's a character named Lachlan in my new book who I didn't even realize is like the epitome of evil, but I still like him more because at least he does something. Like at least he's there for a purpose, you know? Like I don't know, but I agree with what you're saying. I don't. I sometimes they take control.
Yeah, they take control. So we can't, like, you had an idea for her to be important, and then it just happened, and then she wasn't. But it's weird with writing sometimes.
Yeah,
So how do you get your inspiration for your your movies, your books? I'm sorry, maybe claiming something for you. How do you get that? How do you get inspired?
there's so many different things, but then there's also at the same time I would say nothing. Like my first book, Michael, obviously I was inspired by a TV show called Slasher. I don't know if you've seen it, but season it if you watch season 4 of that and then read my book, you'll notice there's some heavy similarities like that. And then my second book, I don't remember what inspired me. I think Bear Grylls. He's an adventurer. He is the show Man vs. Wild. I thought he was cool. My third book, nothing. I just thought in my head, sad ghost story. And bam, 350 pages later, I had my book. my fourth book, which I'm working on now, absolutely nothing, and then my fifth book, which I can't say anything about, uh, Silence of the Lambs inspired it. That's what I'll say.
That's
Yeah.
that's a pretty good one. That's a
Yeah.
I definitely want to read these books because I love, like I said, I love horror thriller. But and it's interesting. Your books are very long.
Some are. My first, I can actually show you here. This is my first book, very tiny. It's 2 or 3 times as long. So my first book is very short. It is 140 pages long. It's a short book. It's a very quick read. Second one, 330, I think, something like that. This one's it's a lot bigger. And then my third one is even bigger. So and then my fourth is gonna be tiny. So I guess it just depends where the story goes, or like how intriguing it's supposed to be, or like in depth. But
How do you know when to end the story?
I typically always come up with the ending first. What I do, like when I wrote this, I knew how it was gonna end. Like I was like, okay, that's what's gonna happen. I just got to figure out what's the meat in the middle, and that's gonna lead it there. I don't. It's literally just a random idea that comes in my head. Like I'll be showering, and then that's how it's gonna go. That's it. Like that's it. There's not like some like extreme like crazy process to it. It's just like a sudden realization.
Okay, so when you get those ideas, they just pop in your head. What do you do?
Yeah.
Do you write them down, or you just let me? I need to go right now. What do you do?
I If it's a book I'm currently writing, I will sometimes write. I won't like write out the ending, but I'll write like a couple sentences like this is how it's gonna go. But for certain things, I just have to remember it. And then even if I forget, the way I write, sometimes it'll end up the way that I want it to end, like accidentally. Like I'll completely forget. I'm like, oh, I got to come up with a new ending. And then when I write the ending, I realize, wait a second, that's exactly what it was going to be. So I just try to remember and hope I don't forget. It's probably not the most efficient way though.
I would definitely forget. I have
Yeah,
so many notes in my phone. I'm like, what is this for? And I'm like, oh,
I
this is
don't
what I
have
put.
any.
Yeah, I have lots of notes. Okay. Also, I read in your bio that you have ADHD.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
So that is not that everything else that you aren't doing that mean that you are doing isn't impressive, but that is extremely impressive that even with ADHD, I have it as well. So that's why I can
Yeah.
understand having ADHD and still being able to sit down and put together those pieces. That's impressive.
Oh, it helps. It helps me. Because
Yeah.
my mind, you can probably tell I just don't stop talking. That's how my brain works too. I have a
Yep.
million things going on at a time, which is so perfect because I have so many ideas coming through and like what to do. So that I use it to my advantage. And then if I need to sit down and be quiet to write, I will play music. I'll focus on the music and I'll just write it out. So that's how I deal with
Now,
it.
see, I cannot write with music on. I can't write with
Really?
anything on.
I have to write. I have to write with music. If I don't have like a playlist of my favorite songs playing as I'm
Mhm.
writing, nothing's gonna come out. Nothing's
Wow.
gonna come out.
Okay. So if you could go back to your first book, Maniacal,
Yeah,
and change, sometimes we read and say, oh, I should have did this. I should have did that. If you could
everything,
change anything about it, would you?
everything,
You would?
everything.
Really?
I'm not here to crap on my book, but that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It's I don't know. I wish I could have just made it not so much of a cliche, and I would have changed. There was a lot of things that didn't make sense that I would have changed, but I don't know, like, there's not when you're writing a slasher, there's not much you can do to make it, like, its own thing. So, obviously, it received a lot of things that are like, "This is unoriginal, this sucks, blah, blah," but there's nothing I could have done to avoid that. So, but I there definitely would have been a lot of things. I would have definitely made more character development, especially for that one character that I don't remember the name of. I wish I made her more important. I wish I did that. And I also wish that I made, uh the killers more interesting because their motive wasn't. You know, it's not bad, but there's a lot that I could have made better. But then again, I wrote this at 14, so
Right. I mean, please don't even. I mean, we all have little ish
yeah.
things that we could change. So I definitely
Yeah,
think either way, you are awesome.
thank you. Yeah.
What else I want? Okay, so what about your other books? Do you see the growth from Maniacal to the others?
Yes, I do, and so does everyone else. There is not a single thing I would change about my third novel. There's not a thing. I've had a lot of people read it. I have ARC readers. You probably know what that is. If not, advanced reader copy. It's people that get to read your book before it's out to make sure that everything's good. Nobody has had a single complaint about it. My second book, there were a little bit of filler. There's a lot of filler. I'll correct it to say a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad book, and I think it's amazing, and I loved it. But there's a lot of stuff that obviously could have been sped up. But with my third book, there's not a. There's not. I can't. I hate to sound cocky when I say it, but I'm just saying what other people say. There's not. There's nothing I find wrong with it,
But
like
that's
at all.
good. That
Yeah.
shows your growth. I mean,
Yeah.
you're only 16, so
Yeah.
you've grown that much in just 2 years. So that is awesome. So of course, I'm gonna continue to congratulate you because
Thank
that's
you.
beautiful. My son is 17 right now, so I'm
Okay.
gonna make him watch this so he can know. Look, it's okay. You're 17. You can still do some stuff.
No,
So, where do you see yourself in 10 years, Asher?
I don't know. I would hope like successful. I mean, the fact that like obviously me at 7 years old at the little summer camp, like, oh, doing this as a hobby, and like what 9 years later, I was doing a book signing at University of San Diego the other week. That is still so crazy. I did not think that me writing little short comic books would end up leading here. Like I say this on every interview, and I'm probably gonna say it on every other one. I would not even have thought of myself being here, being interviewed in the first place. That's still crazy to me. So in 10 years, I think everything will work out. I mean, things are working out as a teenager. I don't see why they would start going downhill as I get older.
Okay.
So I could see this being a career and me being successful. Yeah.
I do as well. So, what do you think about movies? You ever think about maybe going to film?
No, but I do have connections with that.
Okay.
My best friend, I've known him for 6 years. Name is Ethan Nickel. We have a podcast together. He's a great. I love that guy. He edits my books. He's amazing. He loves filming, and he wants to go into filmmaking. Like he wants to go to UCLA, NYU, all that stuff. And he liked making short films, and he wants to obviously we'll work together on like stuff for my book, so we could turn some things into movies. He wants to do like short scenes of my books and put them on YouTube, and then eventually when he's older, we can actually make like stuff with a budget. So if that turns out well, that would be really cool.
That's a good idea. So, what's the name of your podcast?
So we have a podcast. It's called the Thin Ice Podcast. Please, nobody listen to it. I may try to seem professional here, like as I'm writing, like I made that thing in middle school. Okay, I'm gonna apologize to everyone who's ever heard it. It's literally just me and him, unfiltered, talking as much crap like to each other about like everything. It is the most unprofessional, but I gotta say it's fun. Like it's not what you'd expect from me. You listen to this, you're like, oh, this kid, he writes, he's calm, he's organized, and you listen to that, and you're just like, oh my god, it's something. Um, like just don't judge me if people listen to it. I'm gonna say,
All
yeah,
right. So, I know you spoke about college. So you do have plans on going to college. What do you want to study when you get there?
business because I already know the writing side, and someone I know said this. I'm not sure if it was their quote or someone else's, but I'll just quote the person I know saying this on it. You could write the most amazing thing in the world, but if you don't know how to market it, it's not going to sell. No one's going to know about it. So I want to go into business. First off, like I said, I know how to do the writing part. I need to know how to do the selling part. With business, I can work on selling things. I can also work on like other small businesses that could help boost up writing. And if writing, God forbid, doesn't go well, I'll at least know how other ways to make money. So that's what I want to do in college is business. That's what I've wanted to do since I was like a little kid.
Okay. And that's good. Actually, on some of my podcasts, I was doing something on Wednesdays where I would spotlight an author. Before I did this format that I'm doing now, I would only pick authors and they would talk about the book
Yeah.
on Wednesdays. And before I would start it, I would say, you can have the best book in the world, the best book in the room, the best book on the shelf. But if nobody knows about it, it's going to stay there.
Yeah.
So that's why this was part of the reason why I do the podcast and we speak about books because we
Yeah.
want, even if 10 people listen, that's 10 more people that can hear about your book that
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
possibly,
And
purchase it.
yeah, and some people
So that's good.
not a lot. So, and some people say like 10 people is not a lot of people. That is, it's 10 whole people that know about your thing.
Right, that's a lot. And actually, we get a lot of people listening to the show. Believe it or not, we have a lot of people listening, because
Yeah,
I try to make the stories relative. So it's about your book, but it's not just about your book. Like we're literally talking about how Asher is 16 and he's doing all this stuff.
yeah.
So that is can be inspiring to someone else who's young, and
And
they
that's what I
like
want to do.
age won't stop
Yeah,
you. So you can be 16 and you can be doing whatever you want to do if you put
of
your
course.
mind to it.
Yeah, you can do anything. I've had, like all this stuff is still so new to me and surprising me, but I've had people like email me and tell me that they've started writing because of my books, and I'm like, wow, I didn't think that I would actually have an impact on people. But yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are. Just do what you like. Yes, this is the sad truth. You're going to get hate no matter what it is, no matter how good it is. Just see past that. You'll probably succeed one way or another. You can do anything. If you want to make like YouTube videos, film yourself. But you don't have to have equipment. Put it up there. If you like writing, do a short story, self-publish it with KDP. It's free. If you want to make a podcast, record something with your friend, put it up. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can do anything. Do whatever you want. Like me, I'm 16. I'm publishing books. Nothing's stopping me. Nothing's stopping any of you or anyone who's listening. You can just do
That
whatever
is
you want.
very true. Words from the wise young man. So, when we talk about the books that you're going to be doing in the future, we're going to stick with the same genre. Do you think you will ever look to cross over into anything else?
So I kind of am currently. So I like obviously horror, but I'm doing all the subgenres. I've done slasher. I've done psych thriller. I've done um, ghost stories. The one I'm doing now, my fourth book, which it's called Magnolia. That's almost as much as I can give. I can't say any characters yet, but I can give you people, everyone, all you guys listening, the basic premise. I've been obsessed with zombies since I was like a little kid, so I was like, I'm finally gonna do it. So it's diving more into the heavy quotations here, action type thing, but it's really not. But it's not as much, like I said, of a horror novel, but it is going to be like a fun zombie novel. You can't say fun with it, but you guys know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
how Zombieland's fun, you know?
Okay.
It's stuff like that. Uh,
All right.
so I do want to stick with like horror, and I do kind of want to scare people because that's what I like doing. Because I've tried other genres. I wrote like a revenge action comedy type thing, and I was 150, 200 pages in, and out of nowhere, I was like, nah, and I deleted it. I was like, this ain't me. This isn't me. This isn't what I like to do. So
Wow.
I'll stick with.
Okay. Do you like haunted houses?
Yeah, I'm going to. I love them. I do. I go to horror nights at Universal every year. I love that stuff. It's so
Wait,
fun.
what's horror night?
Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what is that? Explain. That sounds fun.
So Universal Studios, I'm assuming everyone knows what that is. It's like the theme park
Hmm.
that they film movies. So Halloween Horror Nights is it's in end of September and all the way throughout how like to Halloween. They turned the entire theme park at like from like 6 p.m. and on into a flat out horror themed exhibit. So
Mm.
scare actors with like masks and weapons, like on stilts, chasing after you till like 2 in the morning. And
What?
there's a ton of haunted houses, like based off the Universal movies. All the rides are open, which is amazing, and they have like concerts, all like horror themed food, and that's what it is. And it's an event from like 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning. Uh, Last year I didn't fully stay till 2. I was way too tired, but I did the first year, and I'm hoping to this year. And I go to that all the time. I love it. I'm going in a month. It's so fun.
Wow, I'm jealous. I wish you're gonna make me, and that's in LA at
And
Universal
there's also the one in Universal in
in
Florida.
Florida, in Orlando. So they do it too?
I don't go to that one. No.
I can't believe I've never heard of this, and I thought I was like a
Really?
horror expert. I've
Oh,
never heard
no.
of this.
If you can try to go to the one of them at least sometime in however long in the future. It is so fun.
I
It's
love
amazing.
haunted houses. Like, so on my YouTube channel where I put the podcast, if you look
Yeah.
further down, like I go to lots of haunted houses. I take my kids. I mean, they
Okay.
used
That's
to it
fun.
now. They used to be scared, but I love haunted house. But This is definitely something I'm gonna look up because I want to go to the
Yeah,
next one.
I don't get scared by haunted houses, but I've gotten scared every single time I go to one of these. They're
Serious.
so fun. Oh yeah, it's so fun.
Oh.
It's
So
scary.
look, you have to at some point in your life, you're still young. You need to come to New Orleans, right? So you know New Orleans is one of the most haunted cities in America, right?
I've heard a lot about that. Yeah.
Yes. So when you come here, because you're gonna come,
Okay.
there is something called a haunted tour, and
Okay.
you would like it because it's actually a haunted history tour. So they
Okay.
take you around the city, and you get to see like all these different weird scenes and stuff. But they tell you the history of the city, which is also very haunted. So you should definitely check that out.
Isn't haunted? Doesn't Haunted Mansion take place in New Orleans? Right.
Yes, it does.
I saw
Yes.
that
So
movie the other night. Yeah.
yes, yes, it's here. So there's all kind of cool stuff going on right now. But
Yeah.
that haunted tour, I literally go every year. But you know, because it's different every time you have a different tour guide. It's
Yeah.
it's really cool, and you may really like that. It's pretty nice.
Okay.
Do you do American Horror Story? You like that?
I never I tried. I didn't like it. I tried watching it. I thought it
It's a
was a.
little weird. It's a
I
little
thought it was.
different.
Yeah. I thought it was a little weird.
Yeah, it's a little. It's you have to be a certain level of weird to like it. I like it sometimes, but it is weird. One of the seasons I forgot which one, but the one in New Orleans, that one is pretty straightforward and it's really good. It's not a lot of weirdness
Is
going
that
on
is that
there.
the
It's the one
circus
in New
one?
Orleans,
Is that the circus
huh?
one? Is that the circus one?
Not the circus. It may be season 3,
Okay.
and it's really good. So it's gonna tell you a lot about that history stuff I was telling you about, like with
Yeah.
Madame LaLaurie. They're gonna talk about her. There's a lot of good stuff in that particular one, and it's not a weird one because some of them are extremely weird, but it's not. Just look up. I think it may be season 3, 2 or 3, and it
Yeah, I
takes
don't watch
place
a
in
lot
New
of horror
Orleans.
shows. It's funny. I don't watch a lot. The
Really?
only the only show I watch besides Slasher, which is considered horror, would be You. And that's probably it.
You?
It's a Netflix show. Yeah.
That's not even horror or thriller. That's just
It
crazy
I
stuff.
would say that's a thriller show. I would say
You
that's.
think so? Thriller?
Have you seen the most recent season?
Yes. I guess it is thriller.
You can't tell me that's not just
It is. You're right. You're right. I'm like, yeah, it is. I guess that would be it. I guess I would have never thought it. I don't know what I would think of it
a
as.
very uncomfortable show,
It is extremely
and I
uncomfortable. It
love it.
it took me a while to get to watch it because the first episode was like extremely weird. But after I got past that really weird scene, the rest of it was amazing. I think I binge watched the whole first season.
Yeah.
I think I just did all of them in like 2 or 3 days. It was awesome.
Yeah, I thought season one was pretty good, and then when I got to season two and three with the Love Quinn story, I think I watched it in one sitting. It was so good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, love is a mess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if you could pick, I think I know the answer. I'm going to say the third book, but I'm going to ask you if you could pick a favorite book of all of your books, what would you say?
I would say third. Yeah, third.
And
Uh,
what's the name of the third book?
it's called Remorse and Regret, and it is. I don't even. That's the thing is, I don't even know how to describe this novel. I don't. Like when I thought sad ghost story, but that's just not it. Yeah, sure, it's a ghost story, and yeah, sure it is. It's very, very it's very, very sad novel. Like, it actually kind of broke me while writing it. There's certain things in this book. I there's a lot of stuff in this book, like themes that a lot of people don't go into. A lot of very heavy stuff like abuse, addiction, like real world problems and trauma that
Hmm.
I sadly know a lot of people that can relate to that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna write about it. So that book like genuinely hurt to write, and it's a very, very, very depressing story. It is a horror novel, I will say. It is the scariest thing I've ever written. I shared a scene with my sister. She didn't sleep that night. I'm very proud of that fact. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Reed. She's only like 12. I feel bad, but very proud of that. But
Well, that
it's
means that
it's
means you
good.
did a good job.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, hey Reed, can I read you this? Test it out. She's like, yeah, sure. 5 minutes later, like it was. Yeah.
That's good. So your siblings are supportive.
Yeah, yeah. My sister, she not allowed to read my stuff. I'm not. No way. She's too young for that. My brother, I think he's only read my first one. He liked it, and then my dad also reads it. He wasn't a fan of the first. He didn't like that. But he read the second one, loved it, loved the second one.
Okay.
I'm only worried because my grandma wants to read my third. Um, so that's something.
Nah. The third one is the one that's coming out for Halloween, right?
Yeah, this Halloween.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna go ahead and get it. So if we did want to order your books, how can we get them?
So you can either go through Amazon Goodreads or my websites. They all pretty much lead to the same thing, which is the monopoly that is Amazon. So you can go to Amazon. You can just look up either the book names, Maniacal, The Trees Are Breathing, or Remorse and Regret, which you can pre-order for Kindle now. Um, or you can just look up my name, Asher Warren. You can do that on Google too. I should be the first thing that pops up. The last time
Okay.
I checked. Or you can, like I said, you can go to Goodreads, which you can also just look up my name, look up the names of my books, or you can go to my website, which is the most straightforward, which is warrencreations.com. WARRENCREATIONS.com. There, I have just all of my books listed, all of my interviews, my podcast, just everything in one organized place. That's probably the best.
Okay. And can you have social media?
Of course, yeah.
Can you
So,
share that
yeah,
with us?
I have Instagram, which is I do post a lot about my author stuff, but it's also my personal Instagram. It is Asher Robinson 09, which my real name. Yeah, Asher Warren's a fake name. What a surprise. Yeah, Asher Robinson 09. And or you can go to my TikTok, which I suggest I post almost every day, and that's where you'll find most of like my content, which is Asher Warren Writes. So just ASHERWARRENWRITES.
Right. Okay. All right. So usually when I end the podcast, I always tell my guests to give their 17-year-old selves some advice.
But I can't.
Right, but you can't. So we're gonna pretend that no, we're not gonna pretend. We are going to say if you could go back
Yeah.
and talk to 10-year-old Asher.
1-year-old me. Okay.
So let's talk to 10-year-old Asher. What are we gonna tell him? What's going on with 10-year-old Asher, and what can we tell him to let him feel better about the future?
I don't know. Because 10 years old, I was also just writing a lot. I was doing the same stuff. Probably let him know how it's turned out so far, so to not give up, because I've definitely come close to that. Tell him that, and tell him to watch more horror movies. More it's more material to write about. So that's probably what I tell him. Don't give up because it does go well for you, and watch more stuff to get more ideas.
Good, I love it. That's a good look. That's good advice because a lot of times we see things and it may not be going the way we think it should and we quit. So
Yeah.
I'm sure 10-year-old Asher would really appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
To know that in 6 more years, he's going to have 3 books, 2 more on the way. He's going to have podcasts. He's going to be interviewed. He's
Books,
going to be
book
doing book
signing. Yeah.
signings. He is the man.
I received for the first time. This was crazy to me. I posted something where because some one author I know posted like a fan art competition, and I was like, I'm not gonna copy him. And then some other one I know copied that person, did it too. I was like, screw it, let's join the mixes. So I posted one, and I received one thing so far, and I received it really quickly, and it is really good. It's one of my ARC readers, so someone that reads early, so I can't share it because it does kind of spoil slightly the third book. But
Okay.
I was shocked because I just got an email. I open it and it's so cool. It's like actually my stuff come to life.
Okay.
That's
All right.
crazy to see. It's crazy.
Good. Well, I can't wait to October 31st so I can buy the book as well. I'm going to check out your books.
Yeah.
What else we got? But I'm very proud of you, Ash. Even though I just met you today, I'm very proud of you because that's amazing
Yeah.
that you can do all of those things.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on. We've been
Thank
talking for
you for
over a
having me.
month or so, and I'm glad we were able to get those dates together because I know you're in school, so it's a little different for
Yes.
you.
Yeah. It's weird. I
It
hate
is good. So is there anything you would like to say before you go?
Not really. I feel like I've said everything. Like if you want to write, write. If you want to make videos, make videos. You can do anything. When it comes to writing, I always say this. This is just your first, like your first book or whatever you write first. It's never going to be your greatest. It's a stepping stone for the future. So, like if you publish something and it gets like crapped on, horrible reviews, that does not mean to give up. That means use what you did wrong and no, not use what you did wrong. Sorry, use what you did right and apply that to the next one, and then just don't do what you did wrong. and it will end up getting better every time. That's what I did. My first book, it has some awful reviews. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take what I did right with that. I'm gonna do what I did wrong and not do that this time. And I wrote my second one and way more positive reviews. So just do that. Just don't, if you're, whatever you put out first doesn't do well, that doesn't mean everything you put out will do the same, because things will probably go better for you.
All right, perfect. I love it. All right, so that is all that we have for today's show. Remember that age means nothing. It's all about what you want to do. You can do anything that you put your mind to. Look at Asher. He is doing well. So you guys can go to his page. Make sure y'all follow him. Buy those books, support him. And on October 31st, I will be buying his book because I want to read it. Do you have audible versions of your book?
I don't know.
It's pretty long. It will probably take me forever. I like Audible. You know, I have that ADHD kick in, so
Yeah, I don't,
but
I
that's
don't,
okay.
I don't listen to audiobooks or read, which is a little funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so again, thank you guys so much for staying with us for the entire time. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you were inspired.
Hope so.
And if the Lord says the same, I will see you all next week. Good night. Thanks, Asher.
Thank you.